we just talked about your country. You represent Egypt. We've seen a lot of activity in your country politically and otherwise, and I know that you'll be hosting the ASEA Summit. In that hosting of the summit, what kind of message do you want to communicate across the continent about capital markets and where you are planning to go to?
Right. I mean, very good morning to everybody here, and I'm glad to be here, actually. This is my second time. I think the first time for me was in 2009 when I was the vice chairman of the Egyptian Stock Exchange. But today, 21st of September 2012, has two kind of information. The first is this is my first anniversary to be the chairman of the Stock Exchange of Egypt. I was heading the stock exchange in 21st of September 2011. And second, today, just a few minutes ago, I got some good news that Egypt did win the vice presidency of the Federation of Euro-Asian Stock Exchanges, the FIAS. So this is a couple of good news today. And the third good news, of course, what Sunil was mentioning about that Egypt will be in the top 10 economies by 2050. And I'm not talking about 34 years ago, the coming 30 to 40 years, but even I'm talking about the very near future, about Africa. And as was mentioning by the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange, Euronext, is that if you look to the statistics, you will find that 7 African countries is among the top fast-growing countries in the world. So the potential is there. And if you remember that what they are talking about Africa, what is the problem, or what the things that preventing people from investing in Africa is the same problem we faced 50 years ago for Japan and 30 years ago for the Southeast Asia. So the trend is starting, and it's a time to jump in if you would like to catch the new trend. If we're talking about the power of the world economy, it has been used always to be in the United States, Europe. Now it's moving to Asia, the two big countries there, China and India. In the next 20 to 30 years, the power will moving slightly to Africa. So I think it's a time to move to Africa. And again, if you would like to answer your question, because I take some few minutes just to highlight some statistics and what's going on there. I mean, it's very promising that we are hosting the ASEA. You know that Egypt witnesses the revolution in 25th of January, something like 18, 19 months ago. Nobody was believing that will be settling very quickly like that. It's just 19 months. We have an elected president. We have an appointed government. The constitution will be written in a month's time, and we will have an elected parliament in 2-3 months' time. So the entire political turmoil will be over. And this is why when I was talking to my friend Sunil, the chairman of ASEA, and I was proposing that Egypt will host the next ASEA meeting in Cairo, everybody were very optimistic about that and was encouraging and supporting that Egypt will host that, to send a very strong message that we are coming back. I mean, if you look to the coming conference of ASEA, I would like to send a very strong message that the African stock exchanges are on the track for growing, and that will be many potentials for most cooperation among the African countries and African exchanges. And I think one of the ideas we are talking about of how to find a joint platform for the IT. Everybody knows that the IT technology, the trading system is very costly, and one of the issues that facing all the stock exchanges. And we are thinking about the idea of how to create a joint venture company that providing a trading system to the entire African continent. The second thing we are talking about is how to link the trading among the stock exchanges, not only through the dual listing or the cross listing, but even the idea that has been discussed several times before of how to create some sort of pan-African exchanges. I know it's a very ambitious agenda, and everybody considering his stock exchange as a national pride. But if we would like to reach a collective agreement and to have a win-win situation, I think we might be in a position to create a common platform that will allow for trading across Africa. I'm very optimistic about the forthcoming SAA meeting in Cairo, and of course, everybody is welcome to join us in Cairo. Things are completely changing, and it's a very strong message that Egypt is coming back on the track.
Mohammed, thank you. What should investors be looking out for now that you have a new country with a new democracy and all these opportunities going forward?
I mean, let me give you a piece of statistics, given that I'm coming from an academia background. I'm a professor of finance, so I like to talk using numbers. I mean, if you look to the stock exchange before 25th of January 2011, in which we have the revolution, during this year, the main index, the EGX 30, we lost around 42%. In 2012, since the beginning of this year, Egypt is ranked number 1 in the world in terms of rate of return. Our main index is up 60% or 61% until year to date until yesterday. So we recovered more than 100% of what we lost after the revolution. The second important point is not about the performance of index itself, but it's about the liquidity. The liquidity is coming back to the track. We are now around 80, but the average daily trading is back to normal, around 80 to 90% of the average daily trading we have it before the 25th of January, the revolution. So I think I'm very optimistic about the performance of the Egyptian exchange. We are trying to diversify the financial products to allow for the investors to fully engage in the Egyptian exchange. We are in the process of having what we can call Islamic sukuk, or the Islamic financing sukuk, in which this will be traded in the first quarter of 2013 to be listed and traded in the Egyptian exchange. We're trying to have many promotional activities to attract companies to be listed in the Egyptian stock exchange. In particular, we are very keen to develop further the small and medium-sized enterprise platform. We have something called NILEX, which is a Nile Stock Exchange, which is for the small and medium-sized enterprises. Now we have more than 23 listed companies. We are aiming by the end of 2013 to have 50 listed companies, and the projections is that the NILEX will be standalone exchange. It will be spun off in 3 to 5 years' time. So we are keen to develop this further. The last point, given the government debts, which is around 1 trillion Egyptian pound, which is something like $150 billion now. We are in a talk with the Minister of Finance and the Central Bank of Egypt is to activate the secondary market for the government bonds, and we will have an active secondary market sometimes in 2013, which will allow us in the second stage to have a more active corporate bond market.